Well, not long from now, we're going to be having the election coming up, and it's what is often called midterm elections, meaning it's a large election, not only around the country, but for the state and locally. And we have one of the candidates on, Keith Curry. You're currently on the Newport Beach City Council.
Right.
Nice to have you on, sir. You are running, as we saw there, State Assembly, 74th District. How long have you been with Newport Beach in the council there?
Well, I've been on the Newport Beach City Council since 2006, a little over 8 years. I've been mayor twice, 2010 and 2013.
And prior to that, what have you done? What's your background?
Well, the difference between me and my young opponent is I bring sort of a lifetime of experience to this job. I was, for 24 years, a financial advisor to state and local governments, solving problems across America about how to build infrastructure, highways, senior centers, schools. I spent time in the administration of President Ronald Reagan in Washington. So I come from a time when Republicans were engaged in solving problems. I worked with Ronald Reagan. I knew Howard Jarvis, and I worked with Paul Gant to pass the Spirit of 13 spending limit initiative in 1979.
And this is a little bit different in that, as we know, we've sort of changed the system, the primary system in California, where you can't have two people from the same party running. This is happening here. And you mentioned the experience, your experience versus your candidate. What other things would you bring if you become the assemblyman for this district? Up in Sacramento, it's still going to be primarily Democrat up there. What's your take on that, and what are you going to bring up there and try to accomplish?
Well, Ken, I come from the perspective of the fact that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you expect your state government to work and to solve problems. We need transportation improvements. We're clogging our highways and roads. We need better transit, particularly for our senior population. We need better capital improvement programs here so that we can keep our infrastructure working. And schools that educate our kids for the 21st century for the jobs so they can support those of us who are retiring. I just retired myself a couple of years ago. So I know how challenging it is in the California economy for this new generation to come in and take over and grow our economy so those of us who are retiring can continue to do so. I approach this from the perspective of wanting to work with our Democratic colleagues to find solutions, to find common ground that would reduce our taxes, grow the economy, and provide the opportunities that all of us expect from our state government. My opponent's more of an obstructionist. He wants to be more of a hyper-partisan, and I think we're tired of that on both sides, Democrat and Republican in Sacramento. We want people who focus on getting the job done.
You mentioned transportation. One of the issues that may be coming up in the near future, Caltrans has talked about this, of taking certain lanes or widening the 405 and other freeways and turning them into toll lanes, basically. And one of the other side to that, the other side of the discussion is that, well, they're going to become rich people's lanes for people to go on there who may still need to commute every single day, and they're single in the car. They're not going to be able to afford to go on these very expensive lanes. What's your take on that?
Well, with the 405, that's being financed primarily with local Measure M sales tax money that was approved by the voters in Orange County on the promise that they were going to be free lanes. I think we should keep that promise. We should not toll those lanes, and they should be free lanes as the voters were promised when they passed Measure M. I think that's important for all motoring consumers, that we have a facility that's available to everybody to use without the additional cost. Tolling has its place. I was involved in the TCA project years ago to provide the toll roads, but those were financed up front with the knowledge that they were going to be toll roads. And we need to inform the voters and the citizens when we're going to toll and when we're not.
A couple of the measures that are on the state ballot, 1 and 2. One deals with the water issue, and it's both about preserving conservation, but also building a water infrastructure.
Right.
And then, of course, Proposition 2 is probably a little more complicated because it talks about reserve funding. What's your take on both those?
I strongly support both of them. We absolutely have to have, water is the most critical issue in California. So we have to have storage, and the Republicans in the Assembly were able to encourage the governor in the final bill to put storage there, so when we have dry years, we can save up for when we need it. And we have to provide more critical water infrastructure in California. Our economy will crumble, our agriculture will die if we don't do that. And the rainy day fund is absolutely essential too. I support Governor Brown in that initiative because that will enable us to have the reserves necessary so that when the Proposition 30 tax increases, our sales tax increase and income tax increase expire in a couple of years, they can roll off and we'll no longer have the highest income tax and highest sales tax in the country.
You don't feel that there'll be funding pulled from local schools? That's one of the fears.
No,
Local
school
school
funding is
districts.
guaranteed in the Constitution under
Okay.
Prop 98. So I support full funding for schools, but that's guaranteed in the Constitution, and I don't think the schools need to worry about that.
You mentioned earlier, taxes, Proposition 13, and that's something that you certainly want to protect.
Absolutely. I knew Howard Jarvis. I worked with Paul Gann on the Spirit of 13 initiative. Proposition 13 has been absolutely critical to our seniors in helping them stay in and keep their homes. There'll be an assault on Proposition 13, both from the homeowner perspective and also from commercial businesses. But if you have the split rule and you raise rents on businesses, all that tax increase is passed through these triple net leases, and so main streets across California will see stores shutter up. Pepperdine University says we'll lose 360,000 jobs the first year if we have a split roll, 100,000 jobs each year thereafter. So I'm going up to be a strong and vigorous defender of Proposition 13.
Regulation in this state, I think many would say, has run rampant. Some certainly needed. One of the most recent ones is, of course, the bags, the plastic bags, and there's initiative now to get enough signatures and put that on a ballot,
Right.
which would be next year or maybe 2 years from now,
Yeah.
whenever the next election is. But the bags themselves is an issue, mainly because it's another regulation. How do you look at something like that? And we're talking about, of course, the plastic bags in the grocery stores and things like that.
Well, when I was on the Newport Beach City Council, we opposed that, and we did not approve that. I opposed it in Newport Beach, and I think it's a wrong idea. This is an idea of where the government wants to come in and manage every part of your life. And what people don't realize is that every time a senior goes to the grocery store, they're now going to have to pay extra money for those bags, or they're going to have to bring back bags that grow bacteria and other things. So we need to get the state out of that kind of business. We need to reduce regulations because they run up the cost of consumers. We have the highest energy cost in America, not because our power is inherently more expensive, but because of our regulation structure and our regulatory structure. So we need to cut these regulations out because they're passing costs on to the consumer. Californians are going to pay between 17 and 70 cents a gallon more for gasoline because of our cap and trade policies. That's a self-imposed tax that drives up the cost to fixed income consumers in a way that's simply unconscionable.
All right. I want to give your website, it's very easy, curryforassembly.com, and you can go there and find out all about Keith. And remember, it's coming up, is it November 4th?
November
Right?
4th,
November
yes.
4th, I had to think. I already did my mail-in ballot, so it's like, okay, I'm done. Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you,
and
Ken.
good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.